Welcome back to my car's shop. We're glad you're here today. Today we're going to be back on the frame rail project for the 70 Challenger we call Stitches. Let's watch the show intro and I'll see you in 30 seconds.
Working out of a 100-year-old refurbished barn, bringing 35 years of experience to projects considered beyond repair. Vision, creativity, and problem solving are essential tools in this place. Watch as we transform junk into polished metal miracles. This is My Car's Shop.
So as I said, we're going to be continuing the process here on this frame rail. It will probably be episode 327.6 on building a frame rail. Some of you will know where the snark comes from that. If you don't know the snark, where it comes from, then stick around the channel for a while and you'll quickly find out. But I really wanted to take just a moment, and I promise I won't talk too long. I'll save that for the end, so if you don't want to hear my blathering, you can just stop the video. But I do want to take a moment and say a couple things here at the beginning. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you. We hit 400 today on the channel, and that means that there are 400 people who appreciate the painstaking, intricate details of doing something like fabricating this frame rail. It's not an easy process, and I didn't set out necessarily when I started the channel to share as much detail as I do. But you guys keep telling me you want to see more and more and more. And I appreciate that because I enjoy sharing it. I just don't want to bore you. As one fellow commented this morning, and I apologize, I can't remember your name. I should. I know you comment quite regularly, but I had a morning from hell here at work this morning, and I've been fortunate enough that I got my work done and I'm able to get out here this afternoon. Anyway, as he commented, that's what sets this channel apart, is we do share the details. So if it takes 327.6 episodes to show you how to make two frame rails, then that's what we're going to do. And I'll leave it up to you guys whether or not you want to take the time to watch that. But I know those of you who are watching, most of you do. And so, you know, I don't have a lot of this stuff pre-planned. In this case, I do because we already did one frame rail and put it in the car. That was the first 160 episodes. But still, you know, it is a painstaking process. And in making a second one, because we're making the entire frame rail and not pieces, there are things that are different. So my goal today is to try to get this cap made, and after that, I don't have a plan, so we'll see where it goes. Hopefully the phone stays quiet, and I don't end up having to deal with more business-related things, but I'm not complaining about that because that's what pays the bills, so I can continue to do this. I'll make a note here of a couple of things. First of all, most importantly, there's a video about a super clean giveaway. A week from this episode, this is Friday night right now for you, not for me, but a week from tonight, on the show, on the channel, we are going to be doing a drawing for the giveaway of the super clean products, which is the spray bottle and the spray foam cleaner for the super clean degreasers. So many of you are already over there on that episode that I just pointed to, dropping comments. So go over there, watch that episode real quick, and answer those questions, and your name will be in the drawing. And I'm going to see if we can't get that pretty little blonde girl to come out and work with me on doing that drawing. So we'll see if that works or not. I bet she will. Second thing that I wanted to say, I just shared an episode on how I can afford to do these projects. So again, if you're interested in my career background and how I'm able to do this both time-wise and skill-wise, where I've been, how I've gotten to the point of being able to have the cars that we have here around the shop and do these projects, be sure to check that one out as well. Find your own creative ways to be able to fund your hobby. There's a million different ways. You don't have to be rich. One of the reasons that I mentioned in there is how I do all of this. That just scared the crap out of me. Door just slammed shut. One of the ways that it's the big one, Elizabeth. one of the ways that I am able to do so many cars is because I don't buy everything. I make it all by hand. It takes more time, but it costs very little money. So if you're interested in finding your own creative path to funding, go watch that episode as well. All right, shut up, Mike. Let's get to making this frame rail cap. I don't know if y'all have the same problem I do, but it seems like I have probably 27 tape measures, but they all have legs apparently, and there's tape measure thieves because I can never find but one. Today I can't even find one. Anyway, so I'm going to use my high quality Harbor Freightage measuring device here and see what we've got. I don't trust the edge of this thing, so I'm going to, and that's right, 2 1/4. Got 2 1/4. Just shy of 2 inches, so yeah, that's what my recollection was. In here we are 2 1/4. So I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece 2 1/4, and I can just trim it down a little bit up in here as it tapers down. So I think that's going to be good. I know there's a little bit of taperage that has to happen in here. So I need a piece that's, see, the tape measure, it's got to be this long. Arrgh! The second rule of tape measures, if you don't know this by experience, is when you do find one, it's going to be the cheapest piece of crap you have in the shop. But I did find one, so let's measure this out-ish. I'm going to go ahead and do it about 26 inches. So 26 by 2 1/4. So we'll get the plasma cuttage out, and we'll probably do it over there and that out, and we'll go from there. Probably a little skinny down there, which is fine. A little wide up here, which is fine. I did go and pick up a couple more of these El Cheapo clamps. Someday I really need to break down and buy some of those Clecos. Clecos, is that the right word, I think? But, you know, you don't want to rush into these things. I've only been doing this kind of work for 30 years or so, and working on cars for 40. And you don't want to rush into buying tools, you know. I'm kidding. Good. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I've kind of got it rough together, and it's going to work well. This fits up in here nicely. I think we're going to end up with a decent taper the way I was talking about it. Obviously the cap needs to pull down in. It needs to be trimmed just a little bit up here. It's got a little twist in it, but it's not that the frame is twisted, or that the pieces are twisted. It's just because of the way I've got it clamped together here with 7,326 clamps. So it's fine. So overall, I think we're good. The cap probably needs to come this way just a little teeny bit. Yeah, no, it's probably okay. I'll probably put a piece on the inside when I weld that up and make it fit down in there. But so there needs to be just maybe just a teeny bit of trimming here to get down back to our 2-inch width, but not much. It's really pretty close. I think the next step here is, as I said before, is to break this down into its component pieces. I'll just let this flow in. I'm not going to bother trying to weld it up in shape. It's close enough. We'll just clamp that down and let that fill in as we go. So we'll break this down into its component pieces. So if you haven't seen this series before, you'll see exactly where we're at here and what all I have made to make this frame rail. And slowly but surely, wherever Shirley is. You didn't know, yes, I like sarcastic movies like airplanes. Okay. So you can see we have the L piece 1 inch by 3/4 for the inner structure that I did on the shrinker stretcher. And then of course this is the mirror of it, and I've got this one upside down. You can see the edge that we tipped on the bead roller. We have the cap that we just made right here, this piece, and of course the bottom piece of the inner structure. So this piece is what I made a couple of episodes ago on the sheet metal brake for the back piece of the frame. Right now I'm just going through and tack welding a couple more spots where things were a bit wonky so that I can check straightness on everything and make sure everything's going to line up right. All right, we'll walk you through the reassembly test fitting process again. Just to make sure everything is copacetic. Okay, we're way off this end and this end, so we just gotta push that up a little bit. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's a lot closer, I think. I do have to go back and remember which edges I started with. 90% sure this was my starting edge. I'd ask you guys, but by the time you see this, it's going to be too late. Okay, that's good. So let's go down and get the test piece, or the test fitting, this piece down on the other end. We're holding this end in position. So remember, this is the top of the frame, the top of the hoop, here where it goes over the wheel, the axle, and that's the bottom, which goes down into the floor pan. Not trying to make it right, just trying to do a quickie. The nice thing about metal, it's pliable and malleable, and you can work with it and move it around. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want it obviously as close as you can. A little bit humpy there, no big deal. As we weld that together, of course, we will fold that down in place as we come along. I find that's the easiest way to do it. Got a little bit of a hump right there, but I think we can. The factory frame kind of does that anyway. Yeah, we can kind of bring that up together like that. That'll be good. And then where it comes together down here to be 2 inches, which is just this last little bit, we'll just cut that in with a cutoff wheel and melt that in the way it needs to be. So the decision I need to make next, I'm just going to Walmart and buy about 3 more of these, I think. No matter how many you have, it's never enough. I said I think I paid $3.99 for them, so they're dirt cheap. I've broken a few of them. Okay. Pretty good. Actually quite good. Very good, very good. This piece here is up in the frame a little bit too much, but I'm pleased with the way that looks. I can see I've got it squeezed a little bit too far together here, but no biggie. Probably what I will do is when I start welding it, I'll just tack it in a couple of spots here and then fold it out this way and fold it out this way. So the big decision, and what may have been a mistake last time, I'm kind of seeing why I did. And let me zoom out a little bit here so you can see this. I intended when I designed this to weld those inner structure pieces to the frame rail solid before I put this together. And I think I see why I didn't do that last time, is because of the way this falls together. If I get that welded too much, it's possible that I'm going to cause myself issues in getting this together. So I'm probably going to follow suit the way I did it last time and not do it that way again, and just go ahead and do it the way I did last time. Probably go ahead and get this cap welded and get this frame dimension set exactly where it needs to be and weld this together. It's just a little skinny right there is actually what the problem is. I know this piece is perfectly straight, so if I tack it a couple of spots on the outside, I think I'm actually going to start right here. There. And just tack this together and see how it all fits. That's probably going to be my best option. So again, when I'm doing this the way I do it, I'm not a fabricator. I'm just a guy who fabricates, and I happen to pretend that I'm one on YouTube here. So when I'm putting this stuff together, it's very fluid. I'm just kind of making decisions on the go, and those decisions are based on intuition and experience. I don't really have a big plan. I just have a kind of a concept in mind of where I'm going, and that's what we do. Remember that this was my datum point here, my starting point for everything, and I just checked this with the square, and it's off about 1/8 of an inch. Actually more like, well, ish. Yeah, this frame rail here is about 1/8 of an inch too far this way. So I'm just going to tap it up that way a little bit and get it in position so that we're sure that our datum point is lined up, and everything else then will fall into place. Okay, so I've got it now edged here. Everything else is looking good. It feels pretty flat. I know the other edge is in. I don't care about that. But remember, when we built those L pieces, we built it so that the edge of our sheet metal would line up with the edge of the frame rail. So we'll weld it solid out here and then go inside and weld it solid. You'll see, if you didn't watch that other episode, you'll catch on to it here pretty quick. But right now, I'm not going that far. I'm just tacking everything together. One thing that is extremely important is your clampage. Make sure you're getting good clamping all the way down. I'm trying to determine the best way to clamp. You never know for sure. I was using my locking vice grips, but I think what I'll do here is go ahead and clamp that down tight so that there's no air gap. Oh, these won't take that. The problem I have is there's no flatness down here, so I'm going to have to get a piece of flat stock to put across so I can clamp this tight in here. I'm going to use this piece of what I used as a pattern for the when I made the trunk floor support / gas tank brace, and see if this will work to go in here and clamp against, which it will. It'll work good. So there we go. We want to make sure that everything is tight when we clamp down. And there's still an air gap underneath there. Getting rid of it now. So there we go. That's good. Kind of buckled a little bit, but that's fine. So I'll go ahead and give me a tack here. Remember, I knew that I had cut this a little bit wrong here, but it doesn't matter because I was going to weld that solid anyway. So let's get that one more touch in there. All right, just checked everything over again. Can't emphasize that enough, how important it is that you check everything multiple times as you're starting this assembly so you don't have to go back and cut it apart again. Yeah, that came out good there. I'm going to clamp it together up here now. That actually makes a nice little clamp. I'm quite pleased with that. Make sure that our edge is good. We're good to that point there. I think I'm going to scoot it up just a little bit. We're too close to that weld. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so I'm going to tack it here. Then we've got a bunch of moving to do up here because it's squeezed in too far, but that's fine. Again, you notice I haven't plug welded this yet because I want to get everything kind of tacked together, make sure everything lines up well. So the big thing here is we're not doing well as far as our edges right in here. I don't know why. So let's figure that out. Okay, that's why. It's a little bit, that metal underneath is a little bit crooked. I think I can compensate. We'll be okay. Yep, I can. Yep. So I'll do this, knowing this is going to bow up a little bit, but that'll be easy enough to peen down once I've got it clamped in place. So let's get it clamped once I got it in place there. And I knew this was going to happen. This is up a little bit right here, which is causing this frame rail to pull up and be twisted. So I need to just gently peen this down a little bit to get it to line up where it needs to be. You can see it's up. All right. Took me a little while to determine what was going on. There's more of an arc in this way than I realized. So I just need to get a little more aggressive. It was pulling the rail and it was twisting it. I couldn't figure out why. So I need to just get a little more aggressive with dollying this down in here. Still a little bit off. Getting a little bit of buckling in here, but I'll put that, I can stretch or shrink that a little bit to straighten that out. So yeah, I'm not sure why it did that, but it did. That's better. A little bit wavy, but I'll straighten that out as I hammer or as I weld it. So this was bent a little bit, which I knew I had to straighten out. It still needs a little more straightening, but I will do that after the hold on. Get that thing turned off. I'll do that after I get this tacked. I could not get this to keep from twisting, and I couldn't get it clamped. And so I finally just went by intuition and said, they should line up pretty well. You know, they should just fall in because they were made identical. And so I just kind of held it where I felt it should be, gave it one tack weld, checked it on the other end. It's within a 32nd of an inch, and everything is all of a sudden falling together beautifully. So sometimes that's just the way it goes, at least for the way I do things. Trust your guts, double check yourself, triple check yourself, but I could get nothing to line up, and I couldn't get anything clamped. It kept, I probably sat here for 30 minutes fighting with this dang thing and could not get it to fall in line. So now I'm going to rough tack a couple spots here just by hand without squeezing things too much. Probably here. I'll try to pull things together a little bit. Once I get a couple more tacks, I can start squeezing and clamping and get it lined up better. Alright, so when in doubt, come over to the flat bench surface, and it's just got a little teeny bit of twist to it, and all I got to do is make sure that this just needs to go up, and that needs to go down a little bit. So just work it a little bit like that, no big deal, it's really close. The other thing then you can do is you can check this and make sure that it's good just by squeezing it together and making sure that these still line up, and they do. I checked it already, but I'll show you. So they line up perfectly there. So I know that my flanged edges are, they're not perfect because I tipped it by hand, but there's a lot of forgiveness when you're putting that in the car, so I'm not worried about that. But I know that my edges are good now. They line up good. Everything is fine. So I got to look at this because I noticed, yep, that's exactly what's going on. I noticed that when I had this piece in there, there was an optical illusion that one side of the frame rail was much lower than the other, so I'll show you that. I'll bring you over here so you can see it. And so down here we're pretty good. You can see that our overlap is fine, but when you get up in here, it's not exactly the same, and I'll show you where that comes from. So if you look at this, it's nice and square. But if you look at this, it's actually high on this side. So this piece has got a twist to it. And that was contributing to the problems I was having on why that wasn't lining up in there. So I just need to take and dolly this down, kind of bend this a little bit and get that straightened out. All right, so I've got it straightened out now, and 100% of the rock has gone out of it, so it's not tipping anymore. So I'm going to tack a couple of tacks on this. Double, triple, quadruple check everything, but I think we're in good shape there. So I realized I think I screwed up. I think this is too far this way, so I'm going to have to buzz those out and push that down even more. But that frame rail is definitely rock solid, no tip. Nice and straight, except for where that sheet metal is not attached down there yet, of course. And we don't expect that to be straight because it's not welded down. But we're going to have a good spot. I'll put a strip on the inside, weld that up good. That should work well. Now, hopefully you saw everything I just did. Yeah, you should have. This is sucking in just a little bit here, but I'm not concerned about that yet. So I'm going to have to those off and go ahead and move that down so it's flush. That was just an oversight on my part. I'm 99.9% sure. Actually, yeah, it's a little bit. And I'll check the other side. It's about 1/4 inch. So I want to check the other side in the car and see how I did that one for sure. Yes, that is exactly right. So I need to buzz those off, drop that in. So big progress on this. We have 2 solid pieces of fabricated frame rail that we need to get married. We will do that tomorrow, only you'll see that obviously within minutes. All right, so we will be right back after these messages from our sponsor. No messages, just watch in a minute and I'll be here. Day 2. We're back. We're going to get to more welding on that frame rail and hopefully having it ready to take the next steps to put it in the car. So let's just get right after it. So apparently my Makita grew legs and is off having an affair with the tape measure because I can't find that either. So we'll go back to the old pneumatic one that doesn't work worth a crap and get this cut off of here so we can get this back in position. It's weird. I came out here yesterday. I hadn't been out here for a while, and the door on the south end of the shop was unlocked and open, which it's impossible to unlock from the other side, but it makes me wonder if somebody was in here, and yet I seriously doubt it, because why would you take a Makita tape measure unless you're trying to make me lose my mind and not take all the other stuff that's in here that's worth a ton more money. So I don't know. Doesn't matter. I'm sure it's here, but it's just weird. And I know part of it is shifting between projects. Stuff gets moved around, and not sure. So need better organization, Mark. Help. kind of fortuitous anyway, because I did forget to paint this with the high heat. So I'm going to go over to the grinder, get these nubs cleaned off, and we'll shoot this real quick with some high heat paint. I did want to mention, it's not critical. When these things are inside, metal against metal like this, and when they're sealed on both sides, they really don't rust, because it's air getting at it and moisture that causes it to rust. I've had where I put two panels together, didn't treat it, welded it all together, and it's been fine 10 years later. Very little rust in there. So plus this car won't be seeing the elements, so I'm not a big worried about rust so much, but I still like to take the extra precaution and go ahead and cover it with something. One other thing that I forgot to do was to drill the plug weld holes down here, so I need to go ahead and do that as well. I'm not sure if I did that on the other side, but I'm going to go ahead and do 4 or 5 on both sides here just to be safe. Alright, now I've got it sunk down in deeper so it's flush, so that the frame rail won't be too high. This edge will melt in nice. So the next step is to just tack it together and again, just check everything. But yeah, we're getting close. I was also thinking that I probably just want to keep this tacked together in case there's something that needs to change before I go ahead and solid weld it. So it's probably going to make some sense to just do the 6 tack welds like I did before, and then make the determination on how I want to remove the other frame rail in the car and proceed that way, so that I can take the 2 roughed in pieces, fit them together, fit them in the car, and then modify what's necessary to get them to fit perfectly with the floor. So I will just blend this together when it's time. Probably just do a slice across both and be able to weld that up just fine, and it'll blend all together nice as you saw me do before. This will get solid welded. There's a little trimming to do in here, but no big deal. Down here, then of course where it goes into the other frame, there's a little bit of blending to do, but it needs to get in the car and determine exactly where this needs to be cut, if it needs to be cut, if it needs to be tapered, blah blah blah. So there's, like I said, there's a little bit of massaging to do here, but what I'll do is get it in there and then just get it tack welded together once it fits the car properly, and then take it back out of the car and finish weld it all, then put it right back in the car and it's done. So I think that's the best plan at this point. So let me gather my thoughts here and see what else I want to accomplish today, and we'll go from there. All right, we've got it all fitted together here now. So we're gonna try to squeeze that down. If these will open up big enough, I don't know that they will, but we'll try. Skeptical that they will, but you never know. Well, they will. Good. I keep thinking about getting a bigger set, but I never do. There we go. Okay. And it fits down in there nicely now. So you saw I took the grinder and I went along and dressed this up because it was a little bit off. And just got to peen that down in there a little bit, and then we'll tack weld it in a couple places. So it's tacked nicely into place. We have a real good seam now to weld all the way down both sides. Remember from the last frame rail that I did, we try to burn hard, so we're not only welding the sheet metal on the side to the sheet metal on the cap, but we're also burning down in and welding to that inner structure that we made down in here of these 1 inch by 3/4 inch L-banded pieces that we did on the shrinker structure. So what we end up with is a frame rail that has a huge amount of rigidity all the way through because of that double layer. So it makes for a nice thick, piece there, and makes for a very, very strong piece. You wouldn't believe how heavy this is, and when you put the back piece on, it's significant. So the strength in sheet metal is in boxes and in triangles, as I've said before. There's an episode on unibody construction, that the frame rigidity of the car is not just the frame rail, but the wheel wells, the quarter panels, the inner structure, all of that stuff. You can find that episode here. I don't remember which one it was right now, but it's all here, all explained in detail on the construction of unibody and how they get their strength. So what's next? Well, one thing I wanted to mention while I'm thinking of it. I'm not TIG welding this together. I could, but I'm not, because first of all, I'm still getting back up to speed after 20-30 years of not TIG welding, but also I feel, because of burning through, wanting to grab that inner structure, I wouldn't be able to do that as easily with the TIG, at least with my skill. And with the MIG, I can really just crank that voltage up and melt that together. I've been MIG welding since I was 14 or 15 years old, so it's hard to beat that experience of having done it all those years versus just getting back into welding TIG here in the last couple of months again after 20 or 30 years of not. MIG welder does everything I need, but I wanted TIG just to stretch my own abilities and also just expand what we can do here in the shop, being able to weld other things besides just steel. So there we go. So I took a couple minutes and just worked on doing a little better job of blending all this together, so you can see how I'm going to have to do a little blending in here, but I'm not sure how I want to do that yet, as I've said, probably to the point of ad nauseum for you, but it's close. I could just simply come in here and trim this down. I could make another piece to blend in here. I don't know, and I don't really care at this point. We'll see how it falls into the car, how much insertion we have. I'm quite sure I have it over inserted now. Yes, I could measure all of this out and figure it all out. Why waste the time doing all of that when I can just simply fit the pieces in the car and it will naturally tell me where it wants to be. So that's where we're at. You can see we have a lot of overlap, and it's all kind of planned ahead, but just want you to see what we've got, because I always try to show you full disclosure. So I'm not against engineering and designing and measuring and all of that at all. As you know, you've seen me actually do math on the program before, but I also know there's a time when just practical application is just a better way to go. So that's what we're doing here, but it's looking good. I never tire of looking at this, so you get to suffer through looking at it with me. You'll notice as you look at this frame rail that we are making big progress. We're making big progress. Apparently we're going to jail. We're making big progress because There's only 2 sets of clamps holding it together now instead of the 27.3 that we had before. So that's good. That's exciting. Yeah, I'm pleased with the way this is looking, the way it's turning out. I'm excited to get welding the whole thing together, but I want to wait and start fitting it in the car. If I have to move any of these edges or anything because it's not lining up with the floor pan or something, which I'm 99.9% sure that's not going to happen. But in fabricating, you have to be fluid, you have to go with the flow, and that's the fun of it, is just figuring it out as you go. I think this is a great place to stop right now, because the next episode on this car is going to be removing the cross member the rest of the way and removing the last bit of the frame rail, blowing a hole into the rear floor pan, and possibly getting this kind of roughed into place. I don't know if we'll make it that far, but definitely we're going to be tearing this out. So we are within 1 or 2 episodes of the final fitment and construction of this. So I appreciate the fact that you guys appreciate the details, as I've said before. We really do that here because this is what sets us apart, and it's what you guys ask for. I try not to bore you with, watching grass grow kind of stuff, so I hope it's interesting. Please comment on that if you're finding the detail educational and entertaining as well, and it isn't getting boring. I want to find that sweet spot in there somewhere. So I still am doing some things off camera, but some of it's pretty no-brainer stuff, and yet I know we have a lot of people on the channel who have no experience. I had an email yesterday from somebody who said, guy watches the channel, loves it, his wife watches it too, she knows nothing about cars, but she finds it very educational, and she can understand what's happening. And I get comments like that on a regular basis. I know we have a lot of ladies that watch the channel who have various skills. Some have no real car skill. We have others who are dyed-in-the-wool car gals. So we have a full gamut of people here on the channel with education, experience, and so forth. And we want it to be, the 3 things to me is educational, informative, and entertaining as well. So I hope we hit that mark. Go ahead, don't be afraid to tell us what you think. If you're not into the details, you're just going to be critical and not going to like it, and you probably didn't make it this far in the video anyway. So if those comments I'm tending to ignore anymore. There's 400 of you here on the channel now who get it. So let's call it quits for today. Don't go anywhere. There's 138 episodes here on the channel. I'm going to be on the Oakland hopefully tomorrow, working on that, getting the screens in the oil pan. They're here, so we're getting one step closer to that. Hopefully in the next few weeks to a month. I talked to Dad, and he'll be out a week from tomorrow, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. So he'll be back on the show, and we'll be working on that as well. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, why not? Don't forget about the drawing. That's going to be happening on next Friday, 1 week from today. Drawing. Enter the drawing. Go over, watch that 5-minute video, answer the questions down in the comments on that video, and you will be in the drawing for those wonderful Super Clean products. That's going to do it. Join us on Facebook. We've got a lot of you now over there dropping pictures in that thread. There's a thread pinned to the top of the page called Show Us Your Junk. So go over there and show us your junk, show us what you're working on. Let's see the stuff that you're doing in your shop. I'm loving what I'm seeing so far. Let's make that thing go crazy over there. We're on Instagram /MyCarShop, Facebook /MyCarShop, and one more thing. Rock on, guys.